Hey everybody, welcome to Sama, Seattle Sacred Music and Art. I'm Derek Mazzoni, your host. Thanks for being here. That was our new intro music. We're getting a few new pieces done here and there. We are a organization focused on international music, sacred music from all over the globe. So it's nice to have different artists create little pieces for us. Today, we're focusing on a country and a culture that I've been fascinated with for decades. I'm talking about Ethiopia, and specifically a particular type of music, liturgical music of Ethiopia. This is music of the Coptic Christian Church. The first I heard it, I thought it was like truly haunting, truly almost like trance-inducing, and I didn't understand. I don't speak Amharic, but I there was just something about it that I felt like I want to dig deeper into this thing, and then I want to be able to share it. So today we have in the studio Zema Yared, and before we introduce artists and everybody else talking about this, I want to share some of the music with you. And here it is.
አብ ወወልድ ወመንፈስ ቅዱስ አሐዱ አምላክ አሜን።
I'm here with Zema Yared, the band. I'm here specifically with Antoinette Teclemarian Parago, aka Bubu, and Kate Hostetter. Am I pronouncing those names right?
Keita.
Keita. I keep forgetting we're German. It's like every word is pronounced. Keita. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this music. It is gorgeous. Tell me a little bit about what I always ask this question of all artists. What's your role? Why music? How did all this come about? That you guys you're making music. Like, was it like a family pressure? Did you pick up an instrument and start playing? What brought music?
Keita, I think you should start.
Well, I'm not actually in this Orthodox Coptic Christian group with Bubu, but we play in another group together, and that's why I'm here today.
Thank you.
Making the connection, and you won't really even be seeing me playing today, and I'm not an expert on this music, but I can just tell you a little bit about my role here.
Okay.
Yeah, I am a violin player. I grew up actually playing music. I come from a musical family. My father was a luthier, and my mom is a pianist and multi-instrumentalist. So yeah, I was born into a family of curious musicians.
Okay. And how about Bubu? How did he get
ለምን ጀመርክ
ሙዚቃ ወይስ ቸርች
ሙዚቃ ጠቅላላ ኢንስትሩመንት መጫወት?
በልጅነቴ ሰው በማየት
looking at examples of others, my elders,
ጓደኛዬን በማየት የሚጫወቱትን ሰዎች በማየት ያው እንትና ፍቅሩ አደረብኝ በጣም ያው ለረጅም ጊዜ በጣም ተጫውቻለሁ ሙዚቃ።
Looking at my friends and my environment around me, everybody was into music, so I had to be part of it.
Okay, so it was your surroundings. That's great. Did it start like sometimes with this is the classic US way? It starts in a church, starts with church music, and then you kind of go into other forms. Did you start doing pop first and then to add this repertoire, or did it start at church and then you got good and decided to go out and make
መጀመሪያ አይነት ሙዚቃ የት ጀመረ? ቤተክርስቲያን ነበር ወይስ ከፖፕ ሚውዚክ ኦልሬዲ ጀመረ ነበር ወይስ ቤተክርስቲያን ሄደ ነው?
ቤተክርስቲያን ለእኔ ቤተክርስቲያን ሄጄ ነው። የፋሚሊ በቤተሰብ ሲሄዱ ይዘውኝ ይሄዱ ነበርና እዛ በምናመልክበት ጊዜ ያው እያየው ሳይ በቃ መለማመድ ጀመርኩኝ።
Yeah, so it was in church. Mom and dad took him to church, and then he was inspired by the music that he would hear there.
Okay. Okay, and then it evolved from there. What is that instrument that he's playing?
Krar.
Yeah. And that's the classic Ethiopian harp.
Yes.
I would take. Yes, perfect. Let's hear another song, and then I want to ask about the role of this music in Ethiopian society. So we're going to slip everybody out right now. This is, well, first of all, what was that song? It was called Zelesegna. What does it mean?
ዘለሰኛ የምስጋና መዝሙር ይሄ ፋስቲንግ ላይ ጾም ላይ ለብዛት ጾም ላይ የሚዘመር መዝሙር ነው።
Yeah, it's a song from fasting. Ethiopia is an Orthodox Christian country, and you'd hear this during our Fasika or our fasting time.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and the next song is called Verde. Am I pronouncing it right? Verde. Verde. What does that mean?
Verde ምን ማለት ነው?
ግዕዝ ነው። ወረደ የግዕዝ እንትን ነው።
ትርጉም አለው?
ይኖረዋል።
It's an old word from Ge'ez, ancient language of Ethiopia. It's whatever. We'll find its meaning.
Okay, so let's hear. I'll add this to the stream, everybody, and then we will be listening to Zema Yared.
Zema
how's life in Ethiopia right now? How's life with the pandemic? How's like, how are you surviving?
እንዴት ነው አሁን ኢትዮጵያ በኮቪድ በግጭቱ እንትን ለአንተ እንዴት ነው ስሜቱ አሁን ኢትዮጵያ?
በጣም ከባድ ነው። ስራ የለም። ብዙ ነገሮች ቱሮች ምናምን ካንስል ሆነዋል። ያው ከባድ ነው።
Yeah, it's a difficult time for everyone. The tours were canceled because of COVID. Also, there's a tense situation here. So it's not the best of times.
So that we're following that in the news, and obviously everybody's concerned. But is it as bad? I mean, Ethiopia in the last, let's say, 50 years has got it's been a difficult patch of history, but it's an ancient country with an incredibly rich and diverse history. So I'm just curious, how does this time as an artist and somebody who's like creating music to express themselves, how does this time feel? Does it feel like this is like a temporary moment, or is this going to be something which is going to color the rest of the future for a while? If that makes sense.
ከዚህ በፊት በኢትዮጵያ ብዙ እንደዚህ ከባድ ጊዜዎች አይተናል እና ከሱ ጊዜዎች ስታስተያየው እንዴት ነው አሁን? ኖርማል ነው እናውቀዋለን እንደዚህ አይነት ጊዜ ወይስ ሁሉ አዲስ ነው አሁን ያለንበት?
አዲስ ነው። በእኔ ብዙም እንትን የለውም ማለት ሙዚቃ የምሰራበት ሰዓት እንደዚህ አይነት ክራይስ እንትኖች ውስጥ አይገባም። በሌላ ነገር ሊሆን ይችላል እንጂ በእኛ ሙያ ላይ ግን ይሄ ጊዜ በጣም ለኛ በጣም ከባድ ነው።
In general, the feeling here is, Ethiopia, we've gone through a lot before. This current pandemic has really hit the musicians very hard here. So it's different from any other time before, because at least in the other times, music would still continue and expression, people gathering still continue. But, the news always sounds worse when you're far away from a country.
Yeah.
So when you're here in Ethiopia, especially if you're not Addis Ababa, you might not know that there's a civil war going on. It's quite safe and quite secure here. But in general, the feeling is, it's treacherous times. But we've also, gone through things like this before.
Yeah, but it was such good news. Coming out of Ethiopia, coming out of Eritrea, this ongoing conflict finally settled. It just felt like it was the country, the region was this bright spot in the African continent. So I remember I had Ethiopian artists on my show in KXP, and we were celebrating. This is amazing. But it's just curious, like how does it all? It's just like this. Yes, no.
Yeah, I would, Bubu, we were talking about this before, and he told me, honestly, with the election of our prime minister and the enthusiasm behind it, a lot of creatives, had more space and more encouragement to really do more interesting things and really take a new role, take a new path here in Ethiopia. However, right now, as the situation is, it's very different from those that first year of change here. So it's tense. ብዙ ሰው አሁን እንዴት ነው ስታያቸው ኢትዮጵያ ስሜታቸው ከአንድ ዓመት በፊት ይሻል ነበር አይደል?
እውነት ነው።
ይሄ በተለይ ይሄ ሲቀየር ገቨርንመንታችን ብዙ እንትን ሰጥተን ነበር።
እውነት ነው። በጣም ልዩነት አለው
እና it could have been a much happier time if all of this didn't happen, but this was somehow inevitable.
Okay. So that leads me to a couple of other questions. First off is, I find that this kind of music, specifically the kind of music you're performing, helps people through these hard times, whether it is religious or transcendent, or like it provides some kind of solace. You know,
ደግሞ ሰው ይረዳል ሲሰማ በዚህ አይነት ጊዜ ሁላችን እንትን ሀሳብ ላይ ያለን አሁን ያቀረባችሁ ሙዚቃ ለሰው ይረዳቸዋል ከፍ ያርጋቸዋል
ኖ ያው ከስፒሪቹዋል ከእንትን ነው ምንም እንትን የለውም የሚረዳ ምናምን ነገር የለም እንደ አምልኮ ነው በቃ እንደ አምልኮ ነው የምናደርገው እኔ እንደውም አንዳንዴ ያው ሪከርድ አደርጋለሁ መዝሙሮች ምናምን እንደዚህ አሁን ያ ህብረት ያ መዝሙር ያገር ነው እንደ አምልኮ ነው እንደ ማህበር አለ አይደል እንደ አምልኮ ነው በቃ እግዚአብሔር ነው ያው የምናደርገው
Yeah, it helps us and it helps our group. It keeps us in high spirits. But you know, we're not sharing this music really with anyone right now. So
sharing with us.
Yeah, that's great.
And thank you. Adisa, please introduce yourself. I know that we don't have a camera on you, but you're doing such great work, and I wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that. Thank you for translating, and thank you. What's your role in this?
So I'm a friend of Keita here. We go back a long time. Her band has been something I've been following for quite a while. So when Keita's trapped on that side of the ocean, I'm here on the side when and where she needs me.
Okay. Thank you so much. Let's hear one more song, and then we're going to hear more about the did I pronounce it right? Gez language. Gez language. And about fasting and all of those things. But let's kick it right back. No, kick it. Let's put it right back into the next song, which...
ዛሬ ቸርነት ነው ያደረሰን እስከ ዛሬ ላመስግን የኔ ጌታ በዝማሬ ላመስግን የኔ ጌታ በዝማሬ በሰዎች መመካት አቁሜያለሁ፣ ረዳቴ አንተ ነህ አውቄያለሁ። አንተ ከጠበቅከኝ በሕይወቴ ቅጥሬ አይደፈርም የኔን ሥራ ተወው ተግባሬን የመስቀሉን ነገር እርሳቴን አዜሜን አንስተህ አንተልኝ ኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ አምላኬ ቸርነት ነው ያደረሰን እስከ ዛሬ ቸርነት ነው የጠበቀን እስከ ዛሬ ላመስግን የኔ ጌታ በዝማሬ ላመስግን የኔ ጌታ በዝማሬ ቸርነት ነው ያደረሰን እስከ ዛሬ ቸርነት ነው የጠበቀን እስከ ዛሬ ላመስግን የኔ ጌታ በዝማሬ ላመስግን የኔ ጌታ በዝማሬ
It's magic, isn't it? Boom. We're in Seattle, we're in Addis, we're in Santa Cruz, we're all here. So,
ቸርነት ነው።
Charanat is thanks to God for all that He has given us. Charanat.
Charanat, thank you.
ቸርነት ነው።
So this is a couple of quick notes. The language that this is sung isn't the language of Ethiopia.
አማሪክ ነው።
Amaranya, yeah. This is the main language of Ethiopia. Ethiopia has 72 languages and much more dialects, but the main one is Amaranya.
And we're hearing, what language are we hearing this music in?
Amaranya.
አማርኛ
Oh.
አሁኑ
Yeah, no, Amaranya.
አማርኛ
Amaranya.
Okay, so the Ge'ez language, is that another word for?
The Ge'ez language is the root language. So you have some common words and phrases, but it's written a bit differently and
Okay.
also spoken a bit. It's the language of the church, Ge'ez.
Okay, that's the language of the church. Interesting. Okay, so
Yeah.
would it be akin to Latin, like the way Latin is in?
To English, Latin to English, something like that.
Oh, okay, got it. So, when this music is performed, it's tied to a particular calendar events? Like I was raised Catholic, so I'm thinking Easter, Christmas. You know, these big moments, and there's also
የገና ዘፈን ከዚህ በፊት የነበረው እያደጋ ነው። ወረደ
Warada, the song that you played before this one, was our kind of Christmas song. So it's Warada, meaning coming down, and this was God coming down to earth in the form of Jesus Christ, and also being baptized. It's on the same month in the year. So
Okay.
what is for you for January? So we have our Denna, our Christmas, and then we have our Timkat, which is the baptism of Jesus Christ. It's about 1 week apart.
Got it. So this is the big month.
This was the big month, and then in about 20 days we start our long fasts, our 40-day fast for Fasika.
Okay, let's talk about that, because that's a commitment. What does the fast entail exactly? And if it's 40 days, is it akin to what you would find with in Islam, where it's just, how's the fast work? Is it, when do you eat? What do you eat? What
ፋሲካ እንዴት ነው ጾሙ? ምንድን ነው ማድረግ ያለብን ፋሲካ ላይ?
ፋሲካ ሲጾም ያው ፋሲንግ ምግቦቹ የኛ እንትን ናቸው። እነዚህ ስጋ ነኮች ምናምኖች አይበሉም። አትክልት ብቻ ነው የሚበላው። ሌላ ያው ትጾማለህ። እስከ 9 ሰዓት የሚችል ይጾማል። አይችልም እስከ 6 ሰዓት የሚጾም አለ፣ የማይችል ያለ እና እስከ 9 ሰዓት ተጾሞ ይጸልያል፣ ይሰገዳል፣ ስግደት ይኖራል። በዛን ዝማሬ ይኖራል። ዝማሬዎቹ ከበሮ ምናምን አይኖራቸውም ፋሲካ ላይ። እነዚህ ቅድም መጀመሪያ የተዘመሩት የዘለሰኛ የለም፣ እንደሱ አይነት መዝሙር ጸጥ ያለ መዝሙሮች ነው የሚዘመሩት። እነዚህ ሞቅ ያለ ነገር እንትን የሚያደርግ ነገር አይዘመርም። ቀስ ያሉ መዝሙሮች ነው የሚዘመረው።
So in Fasika, when it comes to the instruments being played, we wouldn't play, for example, the kabarot. We wouldn't play the drums, because that's kind of like a happy kind of clapping music. We'd play more somber, more peaceful instruments, trying to give the mood for the time. And in that time, you would not eat anything before the Mass, which would be at 3 p.m. every day. And from morning until 3 p.m. every day, within this 40-day period, you'd have some light kind of somber music to accompany. It's a lot when you're fasting like this. You're not eating any meat, not any dairy products. You're not having relations with anyone, even your wife. In Ethiopian culture, even the kings at that time would have bunk beds, so they would sleep somehow separately during the fasting season.
Wow, this is a commitment. It's fascinating, because it does create a opportunity as a musician. Like, people are ready to receive your art. They're mentally, physically, physiologically prepared for this experience. So that takes this music into a whole other level, because most of the time, you go to church, you hear music, you pray, and then you go home and eat, and it's kind of like that one day. But for 40 days, that creates like a transformation.
Yes.
Our whole culture and everything. That's intriguing to play to that kind of audience. Like, when you're playing to an audience that kind of gets it and they love it, you're having a beautiful time. But this is the whole region. That's amazing. It's also an interesting time to come visit.
Yeah. Fasika is probably the best festival to come and visit Ethiopia, especially if you go to a place like Lalibela, which is our kind of version of Jerusalem. It's this very famous rock-hewn churches. You would hear every morning these kinds of hymns and songs being played in this kind of somber mood and kind of peaceful mood, just to it's like almost like a trance, where everybody would somehow Fasika in Ethiopia is massive. You can't walk on the streets because it's so crowded. No cars can move. It's one of our most celebrated days, Fasika.
Wow, that's beautiful. We call that thing, as I've been doing a Sama for it's going to be almost a year, the year of the pandemic. Other artists talk about this kind of somber music, and one artist called it emotional tenderizing. Like, this music prepares you mentally and physically for this. And I find the same thing here, which is kind of like what Ethiopian the scale and the energy of this music kind of does that. Like I remember the first time I played it. This is like in the '80s when I think I was in Boston. Mulatu had was performing, and it was like, this is different. This takes you in a whole other interesting way. Thank you for sharing it. This is beautiful. Tell me about. Let me bring. Okay, she's back. Nail polish. Something about nail polish. Like it's not allowed. You're not supposed to have nail polish during this time. This is like a whole thing. Like stripping away for the whole period. Vegan food. Like you're. So is there like a morality police or something going on? Like, are people checking? Or is it more like how does that work? Because if everybody's doing it and somebody's not, that's a lot of pressure.
It is. And it's kind of, I've noticed it's kind of based on that. People watching each other and kind of being like, well, I'm not wearing shoes this whole month. I don't know about you.
Oh.
Or I'm not wearing any makeup, or I'm only wearing eyeliner but no lipstick.
Online.
What else?
Nail polish.
These
funny ጥምቀት ላይም ቤተክርስቲያን ስትሄድ አይደረግም።
And so it's, but like, okay, I get it. So it's that kind of thing. So humans are humans. They're going to be like, well, I'm just doing a little more than you, I guess.
Yeah. And the details of it's so funny what people decide that they're not going to do. It's like they'll somebody will only drink beer but not drink ouzo.
Got it.
And everybody invents their own kind of version of what they're going to do for fasting.
Got it. And people sleep at the church or around the church grounds? Like, are those like extremes, or is that just pretty normal?
It's pretty normal. People will go, you won't be able to reach your friend for a couple of days, and they'll be at the church. And, they don't really go tell everybody that they're not going to be available. You just, their phone stops working, and it turns out they've been at church for 3 days, sleeping there, praying, hanging out. It's and people will go with their friends, or sometimes, someone will bring their mom, and
So it's a religious country. Is it okay? So that's not shared. We're not getting that stuff, because this is one of the things that also I wanted to stress with this is that when you think of Ethiopia, when you think of Africa in general, people just have an idea, and it's just teeny tiny nothing. But there is a pretty significant Ethiopian population, especially here. But the only way we interact with that is through cuisine and through services, cab drivers or Uber drivers. And it's so vital to be able to share this, because it adds a layer of complexity. There's another word for it, but the only like it humanizes people. It's like suddenly it's like, wait a second, you're not just a thing. You're a fellow human being, and so I will interact with you now in a very different way. And it enhances people's lives. Like everybody, whether they look like me or you or anybody else, it's like that connection is so vital, and that connection only happens through art, and specifically only happens through music. Like I learned so much here, which when we started our conversation, it's like if I'm not learning, then we're failing. Not because I need to learn all the time, but it's like I need to have this, and this is somebody who's been in this game for so long. Thank you for sharing that, please. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Shall we translate, or we got that?
ያው አላውቅም እንትን እንደሆነ ስሜት እንደና ለሁሉም አይነቶቹ ዘፈን እና እናመሰግናለን ይሄን ሙዚቃ ስላቀረብክልን።
እናመሰግናለን።
Okay. So
by the way, just side information, I don't know if you cut this, but in Ethiopia we fast. If you're really fasting, you fast for about 180 days out of the calendar year.
Wow.
So it's Fasika, and then it's every Friday and Wednesday, and then we have every Tzom for every religious holiday. So for Christmas or for Timkat or for anything, there's always a period of maybe 20 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks fasting before.
It's interesting because there's all of these studies that have come out, the role that fasting does in actually longevity, peace of mind, clearing out the gut and letting the good bacteria back in again. So the Ethiopians could be some of the healthiest people on the planet. Well done, Ethiopia. Well done. Let's kick it back. Thank you. Let's go right back into the music right now. Zema Yared, on Sama, Seattle Sacred Music and Art. Let's bring everybody back in. There we go.
Hey,
That's beautiful. Okay.
እንትን ነው
So we talked about the fast. When you break the fast,
መድኃኒዓለም
people lose their minds because they're hungry.
ፋሲካ ነው ያው ትንሣኤ መነሳቱ
And then they stuff their faces. What happens when you break the fast in your culture?
ፋሲካ እንዴት ነው ጾሙ ስንጨርስ?
ፋሲካ ጾሙ ሲጨርስ ሁሉ ነገር እንትን ይሆናል። ምግብ በደንብ ነው 50 ከዛ በኋላ ከፋሲካ ቀጥሎ 50 ቀናቶች ምንም ጾም የለም። በቃ የሚበላው ይበላል፣ የሚጠጣው ይጠጣል። ሰርግ የሚካሄድበት ወቅት ነው። በቃ በብዙ ደስታ የሆኑ ነገሮች የሚፈጠሩት በዛ ቤተሰብ ላይ ቤተሰብ የሚጠራራበት በነዛ ነገሮች ላይ ምንም ነገር እንደዚህ የጾም ነገሮች አይኖሩም። ደስታ ነው ጠቅላላ። በቃ ያው ትንሣኤ ነው የተነሳበትን እንትን ለማስታወስ በነዛ ወቅቶች ላይ ሁሉ ነገር የሚደረግበት ወቅት ነው።
So it's a massive celebration on Fasika. All of the fasting is done. Now we bring out the dorowet, which is our chicken stew with thousands and thousands of onions chopped by many ladies all across the country. Chickens are plucked and made ready to go inside the stew. We prepare our local what do you call it? Kind of moonshine, which is
Hell yeah,
arake as well. And for the 50 days following Fasika, it's there's no fasting on the Wednesday or the Friday. So it's a very auspicious time for marriages. Actually, lots of weddings happen in this period right after the fasting is done for Fasika.
Okay, perfect. So, but then there's another fast coming up after. Like you rage. I wouldn't say rage exactly, but you and then it's another fast. So it's an interesting cycle in the context of this. I keep going back to people that are participating in this, but you as the musicians, there's work all the time because you have to cycle with this. Like you kind of have to be prepared. You have to practice, and you have to. And if there's so much going on like this, there must be a lot of other bands doing this. This is intriguing to me because there is this. You're a band. You play. You go to a club. You play. You go to a club. You can. But this is part of the fabric of the entire culture. That's fascinating, and how that works. So. It's not like I don't have a question. It's more just like a comment that this is an intriguing way to live, and as an immigrant, I kind of like reference that because I'm an immigrant. I wasn't born in this country. It's a different when you come here. It's a completely different way to live. There is no fasting really, and you don't have these cycles. And I'm super curious. Like I don't know if you're the person to ask, but how does one adjust to that when you come from such a rich, complex culture, ancient culture, and you go someplace new and you present this music, like the way the music sounds, the way this, it's different than anything else out there. It's a different kind of way. And I'm curious if you can speak to that a little bit, because when you suddenly bring that someplace else and bring that intention and a culture, that's a really interesting place to be. Can you speak to that? Or you could say no.
It's quite a complicated question to translate.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But when I was listening and going through this, like it's not like you're going from it's not like you're going from Berlin to London. It's like yeah, I get it. It's a completely different way.
ይሄ አይነት ሙዚቃ ስራ ያስገኛል ለሙዚቀኛ ገና ፋሲካ ጥምቀት ምናምን ስራ አለ አይደል በእንደዚህ አይነት ጊዜ እና ፋሲካም ሲጨረስ ለሰርግ ለምናምን ተጨማሪ ጊዜ ይኖራል ይሄን ስራ ለመስራት
ፉል ታይም የሚሰራ ሰው እንትን የሚያገለግሉ ሰዎች አሉ እዛ ውስጥ እነሱ ያው ተቀጣሪ ናቸው የሆነ ድጎማ ምናምን ያገኛሉ። እኔ ያው ሙዚቀኛ ስለሆንኩኝ ያው እንትኑ ነው የምሰራው። ለነሱ ግን ያው የሆነ ነገር ይኖራል እንጂ እንደዚህ በጣም ኦቨር እንትን ብር የሚያስገኝ ምናምን አይደለም።
ግን ቤተክርስቲያኑ ነው
ቤተክርስቲያኑ ነው የሚቀጥላቸው። ያ
So the musicians which are employed directly by the church, they have all of these.
ከቸርች ጋር ምንም
እንትን አይኖርም። They have all of these opportunities based on the calendar year. You know, every day of the month is a saint's day. So every day it's either Michael or it's Uriel or it's Stephanos. Every day of the month has its special saint's day, and then for the 13 months in Ethiopia, one saint is highlighted. So that will be the special saint for this month. And so the musicians that work directly with the church, they have so many opportunities every month to go through a cycle and have their music played out. For people like Antana, though, because they're kind of, they're a band, they see opportunities when it comes to the major events like Fasika, Ganna, and New Year's here, and are somehow more employed in those times of the highlights. But throughout the year, you'll find that musicians from the church are constantly employed because there needs to be music at all times, basically.
Got it.
ሲንገር የሚዘምረው ሰው ነው በብዛት የሚዘምሩ ሰዎች ናቸው ቅጥር የሚሆኑት። እኛው መሳሪያ የሚጫወተው ሰው ሪከርድ ሲያደርግ አሁን በአልበም ደረጃ ሪከርድ ሲደረግ ነው ያው እንትኖችንም ገቢ የምታገኘው እንጂ የቤተክርስቲያን አገልግሎት በእንደዚህ አይነት መልኩ አይደለም። እኛ እንትን የምናደርገው እንደ ድጋፍ ነው። ምንድነው እነዚህ ዲያቆኖች፣ ቄሶች ምናምን እዛ የሚያገለግሉ እዛ ውስጥ የሚያገለግሉት እነሱ ናቸው። የወርድ ያው ስራ እንትናቸው ስለሆነ የወርድ ደመወዝተኛ ናቸው እነሱ። ቤተክርስቲያኑ ይከፍላል ለነሱ። እኛ ግን ፐርታይም ነው ማለት ይሄ አንዳንዴ የምናገለግለው በበጎ ፍቃድ ነው የምናገለግለው። ነው እነዚህ ካሴት ሲሰሩ ምናምን እንደዚህ አይነት ትላልቅ ነገሮች ሲሰሩ ነው የሚደጎመንና በእንደዚህ አይነት መልኩ ነው ቸርች እንትን ማለት ነው።
So the church really employs more singers because they need to, we have in every church the loudest speakers you'll ever hear in the neighborhood. You cannot really go to sleep when the church is playing, singing their music. And musicians normally help as recording something for the church or doing something kind of not as regular. They don't need people playing instruments as regular as they need singers, but the singers are very well employed in this.
Okay. So it's a living. You can actually, but you can do religious music and non-religious, secular, if that even applies. You can do both. It's not like, is there a prohibition? If you're a religious musician, is there a prohibition to do non-religious music? Or am I projecting my history on yours?
ቤተክርስቲያን የሚቀጥሉት ሰዎች እንደዚህ ለባንድ ወይ ለፖፕ ሚውዚክ ምናምን መስራት ይችላሉ ወይስ ይከለከላሉ?
ክልክል ነው።
ክልክል ነው።
ነው
ክልክል። There's no mixing in between. You're on one side.
በጣም ክልክል ነው።
In fact,
okay.
I know that there are special instruments of the church which you're not allowed to play for pop or commercial or private reasons.
Still መሳሪያ ራሱ ራር መሰንቆ ዋሽንት ከበረው ሌላ
Okay. We need to go deeper into this. This is just the beginning of this story because there's a lot of here that we didn't know. But let's play the next song because we're going to go long, obviously. But let's play the next song and then continue this conversation with Zema Yared. Okay. Who's in the band? I feel like usually we acknowledge the musicians in there. Can you tell us who's in the band?
ስማቸው ገለጽለት። ባንዱ ላይ ማን ነበር?
ባንዶቹ ላይ ትእዛዙ ቤተ ማርያም ይባላል የሚዘምረው፣ ሃይማኖት መልካሙ፣ ምረት መልካሙ፣ ድላይ ታለባቸውና ያው አንተነህ ተክለማርያም የብቡ እንባላለን።
That's the band.
Okay, thank you. Well, there's a pretty significant Ethiopian expat population. Would something like this travel? Could you come here and actually perform at shows, and then maybe play at an Orthodox Coptic church, the Ethiopian church? Is that possible? Does that work?
አሁን ለምሳሌ ያው እነሱ ጋር ሲያትል ወይ ውጭ ሀገር ሄደ ለእንደዚህ ለቤተክርስቲያኑ እዛ ውጭ ሀገር ያሉት እንደዚህ አይነት ሙዚቃ ማቅረብ ትችላለህ? ይስማማሉ?
ይስማማሉ። ያው ይሄኛው ግሩፕ አይሆን እንጂ እኔ ያው አንዳንድ ቦታዎች ከሌላ እንትኖች ጋር ግሩፖች ጋር ወጥቼ እወጣለሁ።
በእነዚህ አይነት ሙዚቃ
በእንደዚህ አይነት በቸርች ያው
Yeah, there's a big demand actually for this kind of music, especially in the church Orthodox Ethiopia Hadu Orthodox church following, which is in the diaspora.
Okay, this is exciting. This is really, really, really cool. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for providing. It's perfect, actually. You know, it's morning here right now, and it's actually perfect. The perfect kind of energy that we need, and in light of what's been going on all over the world with the pandemic, with various social unrest, social transformation, civil conflicts in all these countries, like this music just works. It resonates. It's something that offers, even if you don't understand the language, there's something about it which actually like lowers the temperature, opens the heart, calms people down. So thank you for providing it.
This last song that you played, Ethiopia, ትንሽ ተናገር ስለ ይሄኛው ዘፈን።
ስለ ኢትዮጵያ ወደ እግዚአብሔር እጆቿን ትዘረጋለች ነው የሚለው። ለኢትዮጵያ ሰላም ይሁን፣ ሰላም ይላክልን፣ ሁሌ ሰላም ይሁን የሚል አይነት መስመር ነው።
So this song in particular is just about what you're saying. It's particular to Ethiopia, but Lucy, the first full skeleton of that was found to be one of the oldest, most complete skeletons found in the ground.
Yeah, the archaeological find. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're all from Lucy. We're all from Dinkanesh. So if we're talking about Ethiopia, we're saying, Ethiopia, let God bless us, let us give us light and give us strength to continue. So if he's saying it for Ethiopia, he's saying it for all of us.
Perfect. Thank you. That's perfect. Okay, so I'm going to close with the last song. First of all, Bubu, thank you so much. Also, thank you so much, everybody. This has been great. This is just the beginning of telling the story, and there's a lot to cover, and we've got a lot of things that we're all working together to try to find to make the world a better place for our children, fundamentally. And you can tell people, you can kind of like force them into a situation. With this music, this art, they want to be there. They want to be in this kind of space where everybody's just kind of like closer together. I know it's not the best translation, but this music makes me feel closer to you and closer to everybody else involved with this thing. So thank you.
Thank you.
So let's work. We're going to play the song, and then we'll be back next week. This is Zema, Seattle Sacred Music and Art.
Thank you. ማንም የለምና እንደ እግዚአብሔር ያለ ማንም የለምና እልል በሉ ቁሙ ለምስጋና እልል በሉ ቁሙ ለምስጋና እግዚአብሔር ያለ ማንም የለምና እግዚአብሔር ያለ ማንም የለምና እልል በሉ ቁሙ ለምስጋና እልል በሉ ቁሙ ለምስጋና ባህር ላይ ሲራመድ ሞገስ አለው እሱ በግርማው ሲነሳ ጸጥ ይላል ነፋሱ የድንግል ልጅ እኛ የምናመልከው ከአኔ ነው የለም የሚመስለው እንደ እግዚአብሔር ያለ ማንም የለምና እንደ እግዚአብሔር ያለ ማንም የለምና እልል በሉ ቁሙ ለምስጋና እልል በሉ ቁሙ ለምስጋና እንደ እግዚአብሔር ያለ ማንም የለምና እንደ እግዚአብሔር ያለ ማንም የለምና እልል በሉ ቁሙ ለምስጋና እልል በሉ ቁሙ ለምስጋና እግዚአብሔር ያለ ማንም የለምና እግዚአብሔር ያለ ማንም የለምና እልል በሉ ቁሙ ለምስጋና እልል በሉ ቁሙ ለምስጋና አነሳስቶ ላስጀመረን አስጀምሮ ላስፈጸመን ለልዑል እግዚአብሔር ክብር ምስጋና ይግባው። አሜን።